Another video, and it looked like Caitlin Clark has landed a huge win against the WNBA and possibly her treat.
Cathy Engelbert probably never saw this coming. The WNBA's go-to, everything's fine, act just completely backfired. Caitlin Clark didn't just win on the court. She might have scored her biggest victory off it too. The same league that tried to downplay that assault incident is now getting a taste of karma in real time. So, who do you think handled this disaster worse, the league or the players? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is a masterclass in damage control gone wrong.
If Hurricane and their company hasn't been standing up for Caitlin when it comes to her getting off the ball, when it comes to referees, when it comes to the disrespect from players and the league, and the way Cathy sneaked this in, and all these said things that is steady.
Let's be honest, if there were Olympic medals for pretending nothing happened, Cathy Engelbert and the WNBA would have taken home the gold. When Caitlin Clark got shoved, scratch that, body checked like she was in the NFL, the league acted like it was just another Tuesday. The refs swallowed their whistles, the commentators suddenly forgot how to use instant replay. And the WNBA's official page, dead silent, completely silent.
Or talking to the official, they're both going at it saying, hey.
You could almost hear the PR team whispering, if we don't talk about it, maybe people will forget. Except, people didn't forget. Fans flooded social media. ESPN couldn't dodge the topic. And even casual viewers were asking, why isn't anyone saying anything? Because when a rookie who's single-handedly boosting your TV ratings by 300% gets assaulted on national television, you don't get to play the move-on card. But Cathy Engelbert did, and proudly. For weeks, the WNBA circled the wagons. Players called fans haters. Reporters were shut out of locker rooms for asking tough questions. And Caitlin? She stayed silent. No social media rants, no drama, just pure focus. She kept showing up, dropping buckets, and acting like the league's silence didn't faze her. And that's what made them nervous. Because silence hits hardest when you're winning. And Caitlin just kept winning. Every game, every sold-out arena, every TV milestone. She became the story the WNBA couldn't control. The same media the league once used to downplay her, suddenly they couldn't get enough.
I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. But one thing I will not do is take credit for this. I am looking at the Wall Street.
Then came the twist. Reports surfaced that Clark and her team had consulted legal advisors after the incident video went viral again, racking up millions of views and drawing accusations of assault. The moment that word entered the discussion, everything changed. It was no longer just a sports controversy. It became a workplace safety issue and a PR disaster waiting to explode. Cathy Engelbert, usually calm and composed, started feeling the pressure. Sponsors, the ones funding the league, wanted answers. They hadn't signed million-dollar deals for a league turning into a brawl compilation. That's when an official review suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The same one that supposedly didn't exist 3 weeks earlier. The WNBA released a statement saying proper measures had been taken and that sportsmanship was a priority, which basically meant, we're not doing anything, but please stop talking about it. But the fans didn't stop. The reporters didn't stop. And Clark's camp definitely didn't stop. Behind the scenes, her team quietly pushed back, demanding assurances that she'd be protected from targeted physical contact, and that the league would actually enforce its own rules. Sounds basic, right? You'd think a professional league would already do that. Apparently not, because that's when Engelbert's PR bubble burst. Sponsors sent concern letters. Networks questioned safety clauses in their contracts. And suddenly, the WNBA had to make a choice. Admit they'd ignored a serious incident or pretend they'd been proactive all along. Guess which one they picked? Yep, the "we've been on top of this from day one" route. But this time, Caitlin had something stronger than a press release. She had the crowd.
Instead of protecting its transformative star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Ms. Clark, treating its greatest asset as if she were a PR headache. That approach could turn
Everywhere Caitlin played, crowds chanted her name. Opposing teams were booed for cheap shots, and viral clips flooded social media. Even the media, once hesitant to question favoritism, began flipping the script, asking why the league protected aggressors instead of stars, and why it took public outrage for Engelbert to act. Then came the headline that broke the internet. Caitlin Clark wins league review. WNBA tightens player conduct rules after public backlash. This wasn't about an apology or suspension. It was about forcing the WNBA to admit Clark was right. For months, they'd treated her like a PR problem. Now, they were rewriting rule books because of her. Engelbert had to stand at a podium and pretend it was part of the league's commitment to fairness. Translation: they messed up and were cleaning it up before it hit court documents. Poetic. Really, the same commissioner who tried to downplay the Caitlin Clark effect ended up getting schooled by it. Because let's be honest, if Caitlin weren't Caitlin, none of this would have happened. If it were an average rookie, the story would have died in a day. But Clark brought too much money, too much attention, and too many eyes for the WNBA to hide. And Engelbert knows it. That's why now, in every interview, she's bending over backward to sound supportive. Engelbert kept calling Caitlin a transformative player and a vital part of the league's growth. Yeah, because nothing says vital like ignoring someone until the lawyers get involved. But things got even more awkward. The incident didn't just divide fans, it split players too. Some of Clark's teammates began quietly defending her in post-game interviews, saying the hate had gone too far. Others blamed media hype for the tension. You could feel the shift. Locker rooms were no longer united under the anti-hype narrative. Clark's professionalism was winning people over. She didn't post drama or throw shade. She just kept showing up and outplaying the noise. That's when Engelbert realized Caitlin's silence had more power than the league's PR team. The WNBA thought the controversy would fade after a few headlines, a weak press release, and a couple of "we support all players" statements. Instead, it became a reality check for Engelbert's leadership. Suddenly, the same networks that once said Caitlin Clark needs to toughen up were now asking, has the WNBA failed to protect its biggest star? That's what happens when you try to gaslight an entire fan base. It works for a week or two, but once the receipts pile up, there's no spinning out of it. And for Engelbert, the receipts were everywhere. Game clips replayed nonstop on sports shows, podcasts shredded her leadership, and even former NBA players, who rarely weigh in on WNBA drama, started calling it out. Charles Barkley and Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back. They weren't defending Caitlin because she was a rookie. They were defending her because the double standard was obvious. If someone had shoved LeBron James like that, it would have been a fine, a suspension, and 2 days of nonstop coverage. But for Caitlin, the league barely acknowledged it. And the more she won, the worse Engelbert looked, because nothing exposes weak leadership faster than a player thriving in spite of it. Clark's silence made her appear mature, calm, and focused, while the league looked like the chaotic mess she had to clean up after every game. By the time the WNBA finally released its updated code of conduct, it was too late. Fans had already decided the truth. Caitlin Clark was assaulted. The league ignored it, and only reacted when the backlash hit their wallets. That wasn't growth, it was desperation. And the sponsors noticed. Nike, Gatorade, Wilson, all tied to the league. started worrying about how their logos were being linked to controversy. None of them wanted to look like they supported a league that couldn't protect its stars. That's when the real pressure began, because in modern sports, sponsors hold more power than commissioners. When advertisers threaten to pull funding or reevaluate partnerships, things change fast. So when Engelbert finally appeared in a joint press release praising Clark's professionalism and reaffirming player safety, everyone knew it wasn't about morals. It was about money. Still, Clark handled it perfectly. In her latest interview, she laughed about how she used to get nervous before games, saying she now feels like she's exactly where she's meant to be. And she wasn't just talking about basketball. She was talking about control. She finally had it. Ironically, Engelbert helped her get there. Every time the league tried to downplay her story, it only made her more famous. Every ignored foul and awkward press conference turned into sympathy, support, and even more momentum for the Caitlin Clark brand. Rival players began changing their tone, too. The same ones who mocked her college fan base now spoke about respecting her growth. The ones who said she wasn't ready for the league suddenly had nothing to say, because you can't argue with numbers. Attendance, ratings, jersey sales, all were skyrocketing. And the player they tried to minimize was the reason why. The irony couldn't be clearer. But let's not pretend Engelbert suddenly learned her lesson. The WNBA still has a problem. It's run like a PR project instead of a professional league, where every move feels like narrative management. When Clark wins, it's called teamwork. When she loses, it's labeled a reality check for the rookie. That bias didn't start this year, but she exposed it effortlessly. Now fans are demanding transparency, fair officiating, real player protection, and consistent discipline. The basics any professional league should already have. And for Engelbert, that means something she's avoided her entire tenure: accountability. Because once you start admitting mistakes, you're judged by results, and hers haven't been impressive. Teams folding, players complaining about pay, and now a controversy revealing how poorly leadership handles pressure. But Caitlin Clark changed everything. She brought in a new wave of fans who don't care about old loyalties or league politics. They care about fairness and the game itself. They see through spin, and that terrifies the WNBA. They watched the incident, the silence, and now they've watched Caitlin win both on and off the court. Her calmness became her greatest weapon. While Engelbert scrambled for damage control, Caitlin just kept doing what she does best: winning. Every interview now feels like a reminder that she's the true face of the league, whether Engelbert likes it or not. She talks about prayer, staying grounded, and gratitude, things no PR statement can fake. That's what makes her unstoppable. You can't outspin authenticity. And now Engelbert knows she can't control Caitlin Clark. She can only try to keep up. When people say Clark won, they're not just talking about a review or a rule change. They're talking about a shift in power. For the first time in years, it's the fans, not the commissioner, shaping the league's direction. Engelbert never saw that coming. She thought Clark was just another star, not a turning point. But now, every WNBA player who steps on the court plays in the league Caitlin Clark forced into existence. One that finally has to care about fairness, visibility, and accountability. You can almost picture Engelbert replaying that press conference, wondering how it all slipped away, how the league she tried to control was taken over by a 23-year-old with a jump shot and unshakable calm. It slipped away the moment she underestimated the fans. You can't silence the people who pay the bills, and you can't bury a story when the whole internet's watching. Caitlin Clark didn't need to yell, sue, or post. She just kept playing. And that quiet strength ended up exposing an entire league office. So yeah, instant regret might be an understatement. Engelbert didn't just underestimate Caitlin. She underestimated how smart, vocal, and loyal today's fans are. Now, every PR statement, every forced apology, every league values fairness line sounds hollow next to Clark's calm voice saying, "I'm happy with where I am. I've worked for this life." That's not just confidence, that's control. And it's something the commissioner will never have again. So what do you think? Did Cathy Engelbert finally realize she can't silence the fans? Or will the league try another PR stunt next season? Drop your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, the WNBA drama isn't done yet.